This is
Very
fantastic.
interesting.
Never has a presentation inspired so much conversation before it even started, in my experience. So this is wonderful, and we've gotten our quorum from the waiting room. I think everybody's here and ready to go. So Denise, if it's okay with you, shall we move into some quick expectations and introductions to get going?
Go ahead.
All
Oh, I
right,
thought you
so
were going to start.
yeah, so we'll
Yeah,
take a
so we'll
look
take
at
a look
those
at those.
expectations on the next
Oh,
slide.
okay, the next slide. Okay, sorry.
So we're obviously in for a treat. We know that already. We've enjoyed seeing some folks already on video. Feel free to keep your video on if you'd like. And of course, we know there are a lot of things going on in folks' lives. So if you can't, totally understood. In terms of audio, now is a good time to make sure that you're on mute so that we get a nice clean recording and avoid distractions for when Denise starts to present. And if I happen to notice some noise and someone's off mute, I'm also happy to keep an eye on that and press mute, with the idea that if you've got some thoughts, if questions come up, feel free to either come off mute or put any questions or thoughts in chat. Denise and I will be paying attention and want to address those throughout. And then finally, the recording of the presentation and our time together, as well as a PDF of the slides, will be available through your chapter within, I would say, a week or two after this presentation. So you'll be able to refer back if that helps you understand how you want to engage for the live session. I am now very excited to be able to introduce Denise. Denise Gatti is a creative DEI and leadership consultant who is passionate about maximizing talent and creating inclusive cultures as drivers for business success. Her focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion grew from a long-standing practice of integrating DEI into all training, talent management, and development programs. She is currently co-chair of the Tri-State Human Resource Management Association Diversity and Inclusion Committee. She has worked with a wide variety of clients and industries, including healthcare, automotive, sales, government, and finance, as well as nonprofit organizations and their boards. The talent management and succession process she designed for a national company resulted in a 20% increase in the diversity of their leadership pipeline, promotions of underrepresented talent to director level, and a 0% turnover rate among high potential talent for 10 successive years. So obviously some results we want to learn more about. Denise, very pleased to have you with us. Please take it away.
And thank you very much, David. And thank you also. I want to give recognition to Kalpana, who has been wonderful enough to invite me to join your session this evening. So we're going to get started here, and we're going to talk about how to combat the Great Resignation. We've had some great conversation already. So we're going to get right in and get started talking about the Great Resignation and the process of using stay interviews to combat that process. So we're going to start off with going to use a tool called Annotate. And I'm going to be asking you, what do you feel is driving the Great Resignation? And we have a flip chart here. So this is our virtual flip chart. If you're not familiar with annotating, if you look up in the top of your screen, you'll see a bar that says you are viewing Denise's screen. And on right close to that, you should see a button called Annotate with a little pen or a pencil. If you click on that, to the right of that, click on, and it'll say View Options. You'll click Annotate. You'll see the Annotate toolbar. And on the Annotate toolbar, you can pick a color that you would have your comments. Oh, see, some of you are already familiar with you. I see postings. So wonderful. You can click on the T. It will create a text box. So write in what you feel is driving the Great Resignation, either from your organization standpoint or just your own personal perspective. So let's get as many thoughts as we can on our flip chart. and see what you feel is driving the great resignation these days. Great. Burnout, people need a change. Shifting values. Burnout is something, and we were even talking about that right before the session started. People are looking for more career growth or not feeling like they're getting career growth. Oh, a whole bunch of stuff all at once. That's what I like about this tool. We can get everything on the table quickly. Employee resentment for doing more with less and not getting the rewards. Somebody says, I prefer employee enlightenment. That's a great term. I've heard a couple different terms. Never that one. To great people are, I say, set up managers not knowing how to remote work, how to manage remote work, demands of time, managers with narcissistic person, I think that means personalities, lacking a clear purpose. People had a chance to experience a different work solution and liked it better. They liked the conditions under which we were working during the pandemic. People want more management, not returning to another narcissistic managers or just bad bosses. So there's a lot of factors. You've got some great thoughts here. Doing more with less, returning to the office, not wanting to return to the office. So there's a lot of feelings that people are having, a lot of things that are driving the great resignation from personal standpoint of personal experiences that they're going through. So issues of pay, no career growth, and those have always been with us in terms of reasons that people leave work. But the quality of what people are making their decisions on is a little different these days. People looking for meaning, looking for work-life balance, burnout, it's time for a change. So all of these factors and the experience that people are having are all driving the great resignation. Thanks for all of your great thoughts here. I am going to erase it so we can move on to the next slide. And we're going to talk about some of the major changes and some of the major things that are driving it across the country. Okay, let me stop this. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So you may be familiar with the work of Gartner Group, who does lots of research and polls. The effects of the pandemic are probably one of the drivers, and it was the effects of the pandemic resulted in all those great thoughts that you just put on our flip chart. It results in people saying, gee, I worked differently and I kind of liked it. I liked the way I was working from home. People, you know, the work-life balance. So this is a chart that kind of says what employees say about how the pandemic has changed their feelings about work and life. And this is the core that's behind all of these resignations and all the effects. So the number one thing was shifted by attitude towards the value of aspects outside work, looking at my whole life. And a lot of feedback. So 65% of employees strongly agreed with the fact that the pandemic and the experience caused them to shift their attitudes, to rethink my place and the balance between my work and family, made me long for a bigger change in my life. So all these comments all have the same theme, that through this experience, employees decided that, you know what, there's more to life than work, there's different priorities. It made them rethink, how do I look at work and how do I look at work? So this change in perspective. And 85% overall of employees agree that the pandemic has totally shifted their beliefs about what constitutes work and what constitutes a good job, not as in doing a good job, but do I have a good job? Do I enjoy my work? And it shifted their perspective of what having a good job means. And several of you already brought up the fact of the burnout that has happened. And actually, the overwork that somebody mentioned earlier, I think Jim was mentioning, people are overworked, we're short-staffed. So all those factors, and it's the organizations themselves that have created the burnout, and they're the ones that have to help us through it. This has especially been true for women and people of color who've been particularly hard hit by the pandemic and are shouldering a lot of the responsibilities. and have caused them to rethink about it. So McKinsey research found that at least 1 in 3, possibly 1 in 4 women are considering either leaving the workforce, switching jobs, or cutting their work hours significantly. So they're dropping back from the workforce, if not leaving it entirely.